and a half years to do it, and she didn't.
Right.
So
her
her message is falling flat.
You talk about scare tactics. Let me ask you the question I asked Mike Johnson. Is it appropriate for the president and his son to be suggesting that Democrats are behind the assassination?
Well, I don't like suggesting any of those things, but the fact of the matter is, if Donald Trump's head was one tiny twist the other direction, he would be dead right now. And what would be happening in America right now? So, yeah, when your dad almost gets killed and when when he gets shot again, look, I'm not suggesting the Democrats are doing it, but the rhetoric that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy was a Democrat talking point. And the other talking point now is that he wants to monitor women's pregnancies, that Trump said that if he doesn't win, there's going to be a bloodbath. So, look, all of this stuff, the one thing I agree with is that the rhetoric should calm down, but it's part of the Democrat tactic to win this election is to paint Donald Trump as a threat to the very republic that we live in.
Well, now, of course, you see that Republicans are doing the same, using those same lines against Democrats. You've got Trump and Vance and Musk out there saying that now it's Democrats who are the threat to democracy. But I think overall, if you kind of take a step back from the perspective of voters, we have wars in the Middle East that are escalating. You do have economic indicators that at a macro level are moving in a more positive direction, but we all know that prices, when it comes to what you're actually paying day in and day out, still haven't come down. And then, of course, you see just what's happening, this devastation with the storms. And so there is that just sense of unease among a lot of voters. And I think the challenge for Harris is that she has to both paint herself as experienced enough to take on this job because she's sitting in the White House right now as vice president, while also making clear to voters that she's not going to just continue on with what the current administration is doing. It's a very tricky balance.
And Adam, no big events on the schedule right now that could tip the balance either way. We just came out of the vice presidential debate, probably a wash.
I think so. It seems like all the things that we think would tip the balance don't. The election seems really stuck in place. I've never seen an election quite so close and so difficult to call. Like, if we were meeting a month from now and it turned out that Trump won by 6 points or she won by 6 points, I wouldn't be shocked.
Well, that's one of the things, and your paper has done a good job, Nate Cohen, on the Till, showing people how if the polls are wrong in the way they were wrong in 2020,
right,
then he's going to win big. If they were wrong in the way they were wrong in 2022, she's going to win big.
I mean, I think the bottom line is let's just assume that it's really close. I think Reince's point about what happens when it's this close in the past two elections is really instructive. But I've been working with Donna for like 30 years, and she's a big believer in the ground game. And my experience is that when an election is this close, ground game matters. And my sense is that Harris is ahead on that right now, just in terms of investment and energy. And that's what I'll be paying attention to.
And Donna, we also this week saw the Jack Smith filing. Do you expect that is going to become more part of the Democrats' message, or do they have to move on from that?
That's not going to be a part of any message, because you know what? It's a court filing. We know that's going to go back and forth. And I don't think any Democrats want to relive what happened in 2016 with Mr. Comey putting out scurrilous information at the end of the election. Look, I got to say something to you. I come out of the civil rights movement. Nonviolence was our touchstone. We made change by going out there, protesting, because we wanted to change our country, to make sure that everybody was included. Democrats, and I've been a Democrat since I was 18 years old, although I voted once or twice for a Republican or two. There's no, and I mean this, there's no place for violent rhetoric. And when you threaten election workers, when you threaten to execute your quote-unquote former Joint Chief of Staff, Mr. Milley, when you mock Nancy Pelosi's husband being beaten by a hammer, I don't want to be lectured by Eric Trump. Who in the hell is Eric Trump saying Democrats? No, there's no place for violence of any kind. And this is something that needs to be said. I was there with you, brother, Mr. Priebus. I was there with you the day that Mr. Trump had that attempted assassination. The Biden campaign put down all of their ads, just like they did during COVID. And they said, we are going to stop this. We need both political parties, both leaders. Do not go out there and blame Haitians. Do not go out there and blame immigrants and migrants. That is the rhetoric we hear every day. And if you cannot, you cannot say that Joe Biden won this election. Joe Biden won the election. Then you should not.
The show is not a monologue, Donna.
No, but it is
the fact of the matter is,
people
have different
It's the floodgate of lies.
Okay? And the fact of the matter is, this is a former president and a son that, number one, came extremely close to losing his life and losing his father, okay? He's been called a threat to democracy from the very beginning. They got rid of a sitting president to fulfill their message that he's a threat to democracy. And in order to save this country, they had a sitting president step down, put in a vice president in the summer. This is how they feel about it, and this is how everyone on the Democratic Party feels about it. So don't sit here and act like holier than thou, that somehow you have a corner on this message, because you don't.
And you don't.
And that's why you're not winning. That's why Harris is behind, and that's why she's going to lose. People aren't buying the rhetoric.
She's not behind.
People are not buying the rhetoric.
We're not buying the lies.
Why can't you simply say that blaming Democrats for the association?
I would not blame Democrats.
Just say it's wrong.
I just said it, okay? But it's also wrong to paint the President of the United States, President Trump, as the threat to democracy that's going to end the United States of America. What does that do to people's heads when you do that? What does that do to millions, hundreds of millions of people in America?
What does that do to legal
effect,
immigrants?
Guys,
what does it do to legal immigrants when you know you're lying? What does it do to kids who are trying to go to school?
The President of the United States practically getting killed.
And
okay?
we all condemn that.
You're hitting 20 different topics.
The Democrats condemn that. But the lies, the floodgate of lies must stop.
What lies? Like that President Trump's going to monitor women's pregnancies?
Oh, well.
Oh, that's Project 2025. Has nothing to do with President Trump. But you know what? It's a good talking point for the Democrats, so they keep saying it. They lie all the time.
Oh, wow.
What's this election going to turn on?